Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Testimonial, a YouTube interview series brought to you by the Law Society of Royal College. Today, we are honored to have with us a remarkable individual who began his journey at Royal College and went on to build a remarkable career serving the country for more than 30 years in the field of law. Over time, he has held many key positions in the Attorney General's department and now leads it as the Attorney General of Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, he is none other than Honorable Parinda Ranasinghe. With that being said, sir, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm deeply honored that you chose to interview me.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So, moving on, sir, during your student years, what were your inspirations? What did you want to do? Was it always law? Or?
Well, I had a long career at Royal College. I began in 1973 and then I did my A-levels in 1985 and I did my prefect duties for another year. So I had like 13 long years at Royal. So it was indeed a memorable journey, so to say. And then, of course, I did end up as a lawyer, but I must say that, like the question whether I always wanted to be a lawyer, well, unlike today, I grew up in an age where generally parents did a lot of decision making for you.
Yes.
So it's quite different. So my father was a judge himself, so well, from about my O-level times, I only heard that word law. So, so I was all right with it, and then I thought that was best for me. And well, I sort of conditioned myself to doing law. So, and I went to law college, did the law entrance, and then I passed out as a lawyer. So that's how I started my legal career.
Right.
There was no other. So in a sense, it was easy decision for me to make because it was thought that I should be a lawyer, and then here I am.
Yeah. So eventually, the integration was pretty smooth, and you felt it was a comfortable field for you, right? Sir?
Yes, come to think of it, there was a time that given a choice, there was a time I was thinking, okay, I would have loved to have been an architect.
Yeah.
I like, designing houses, and well, by the way, I was a good painter myself at some point in school. I could draw quite well, and also like I come from a family. My uncle Parinda Ranasinghe, he was also a great royalist, and he was a good artist, and then actually he's a sculptor. Some of the bronze sculptures in front of the old Parliament building was done by him, and the famous Navaragahala terracotta murals were done by him. So I guess there was a bit of art in the blood. So for that reason, I thought like, okay, maybe my inclination was to become an architect at some point.
Yeah.
But then by that time I had was doing my law exams. So thereafter, yes, as you said, the transition was kind of smooth.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see. So how did school shape you? Other than academics, the extracurriculars you did, the co-curriculars, how did that impact you, your leadership skills and whatnot?
Yeah, okay. As I told you, I had a very long stint at Royal College,
Yeah.
and then I dabbled in everything, so to say. I don't consider myself a great student where studies are concerned. I did pass my O-levels and A-levels in for short. So besides that, I was the student secretary of the Royal College Wildlife Protection Society and the Art Circle. And at the Wildlife Society, we did a lot of work. We did lots of lectures, public awareness. We in fact organized the art exhibition on nature preservation, and we did lots of field tours. So it was quite and then also I played tennis for college. I played tennis in 84 and 85, and I was a member of the team that won the public schools and interclub in those 2 years. And so I had quite a decent and memorable and very exciting school life. I mean, looking back, I think I had a very good time at Royal, and then of course finally as prefect, it just shaped me quite well for leadership skills. It honed my leadership skills, because being the secretary of the Wildlife Society also helped me, because we had to manage things, organize things, and playing tennis was good because we had to, along with my captain, we had to plan how to strategize and then how to tackle our opponents. So prefect thing was the game changer, so to say, because it just helped me. So all that really, I think, looking back, I mean, I didn't realize it at that time, but now I think those sort of gave me a strong foundation. So that's so I mean, I owe it a lot to college for I mean, I had credit huge amount for what I am today. I mean, I'm thankful to my school.
I see. Any specific individuals that impacted you a lot during your journey, sir?
Well, I mean, in school, there was Mr. Vijay Veerasinghe, and who was a junior school principal, and there were a few class teachers. I mean, I particularly remember Lakshmi P.S.Sena, she was one of my class teachers, and there was Mrs. Sunita Yalvis, who was my art teacher, and I mean, there were quite a few of them. I mean, I had quite a good set of principals and prefects who we could look up to. So, so there were quite a few. I mean, I didn't have a particularly as a role model, as so to say, but I learned bits and pieces from everybody. So it was quite a great journey.
Interesting. So, moving on, do you think right now, like education as a whole, do you think the exposure towards law as a subject is enough, or do you think there are different ways we can change this?
Well, interesting question. Now, for instance, I see some of the international schools for A-level, they teach law as a subject. But unfortunately, in our school curriculum, we don't teach law as a subject. I think that's very important, because now we are talking about education reforms, you know. But now, take for instance, like when you're small, I mean, although we didn't realize, we were subject to certain laws. We don't call them laws. But I mean, our parents used to say, okay, you have to finish your food on the plate, you have to go to bed at a particular time, okay, you got only 2 hours of television. So these are all regulations. You have bedtime, getting up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So these are all laws. But then as you go on, life becomes more complex. I mean, so we see sometimes, you know, schoolboys, you know, misbehaving, and which are sort of frowned upon by other individuals, and then sometimes they ask like, what school is he from? So all that matters. So basically, law is a way of disciplining a society. So it has various levels, you know, depending on the offense you commit. And then also by law, it does not, it recognizes that if you're of young age, you are, the law would not apply to you the same way as it would apply to an adult.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes people don't know what the law requires you to do, and what is there in law books. So I think even to a certain degree, not as much as you would teach students at law schools or law degrees. I mean, elementary basic law, I think if you can maybe as a part of social sciences, we did a subject called tenure here or something like that. I think it will be very useful to do that. You know,
it's just the foundations.
Just a foundation. I mean, even like things like how we drive a car. I mean, for me, I have traveled a bit, and I see some of those countries which are good disciplined. You could actually gauge how disciplined the society by how they drive the cars.
Yeah.
So that's very important. So usually, if you come to a country where driving is very disciplined, you get the impression that the people are also very disciplined, very patient, very considerate. What is important? So
Yeah.
I think, as you said, law exposure to law in school is very important.
Yeah.
And I don't think we are getting it at the moment.
You think it's important that we harbor this exposure through things like clubs and through things like extracurriculars as well? So for example, the Law Society of Royal College?
Yes, I think now I think I was glad to be part of your law. I think what you call the law club or what?
The Law Society.
Law
Yeah.
Society, Law College. I think the law will be, because I always a great proponent, because the thing we don't, I mean, we are talking about law, medicine, engineering in the same way. Now, for instance, like if you want to do medicine and law, medicine and say engineering, so you're being prepared for that from the time you finish your O levels.
Yeah.
Then if you want to be a doctor, then after O levels you got to decide you would do bioscience. Then if you want to do engineer, then you after your O levels you got to do mathematics.
Yeah.
So you have to make that. So the preparation starts from that stage, as early as you're maybe 16 years old. But at law, you don't get that preparation.
It's not there.
It's not there. I mean, you could make that choice later. But I think because law is a very, very complex area. Could be as complex as medicine in a different way.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to prepare the student at an early stage. Will be a good thing. But I mean, these are only sentiments. But then, both policymakers should give thought to it.
Yeah. So this is more of a hypothetical question, sir. If back then you had more exposure towards law, do you think that would have made any differences? And do you think if the Law Society of Royal College existed back then, do you think you would have been a member, sir?
Well, of course, I mean, I would have, because by that time, because as I told you, in my case, that the fact that I was going to do law was, inculcated in me, especially by my father, and then he was also a royalist, and then so I would have simply joined the Law Society, because that way, because I think the clubs and societies do a lot in school, because they are the limit which your school curriculum can teach you. Now, for instance, I was a member of the Royal College Wildlife Protection Society, because we got guest speakers and we had exhibitions, we got talk shows and field trips. Because by that time, the members, I mean, the membership was limited, but they got a very good exposure to environment. Because now the school did not teach environment environmental science or environmental subject.
Yeah.
But by the boys who are members of the Wildlife Society, they learned lots.
It's
So
a-
it supplemented your learning, so to say.
Yes. Did the bureaucracy like within the clubs help you understand, basic proceedings within different institutions and whatnot?
Yes, I mean it also, yes, it is, because we had to while doing the clubs and societies, we had to go get clearances from
Yeah.
certain government institutions, meet certain people, and then and also as prefect we had to go and try and get sponsorships,
Yeah.
convince people to give advertisements and take up sponsorship, and then it's just to further your, I mean people learned a bit of marketing even at that time.
Yes.
Marketing wasn't subject, so we had to use ingenuity, and then it was like learn on the job sort of thing. So it's important, because and also it taught you interpersonal skills, because sometimes you're all students, but then there are various students. You would agree to no two students are alike.
Yes.
Some could be a little fussy, some
Yeah.
people are easygoing, and just to deal with these people.
You learn to
you
handle
learn how to handle people.
Yeah.
That's because I'm heading institution, so my officers, they are different in their way. They have
Right.
certain strengths, their weaknesses, they are how they approach life. So it has helped me quite a bit to deal with them.
Right.
And the trick is to deal with different individuals and get the best out of it, and then achieve your goals.
Of course.
So it's very important.
So, sir, moving on from your school life, you hold a master's degree in international maritime law
Yeah.
and environmental law,
Yeah.
as well as a diploma in forensic medicine.
Yeah.
What motivated you to specialize in these specific fields?
Okay, now that's an interesting question, because I first had my master's in environmental law at National University of Singapore. So that again was, I was quite involved in wildlife society. I still like animals quite a bit. So I still like to go to the jungles, and I like animals, and I do my best to protect them still.
Yes.
And then, so what I thought was environment law would be just to
Feel something close to
feel
home.
something, yes, and then that I thought maybe while being a lawyer to integrate my interest in or passion, so to say, for the environment, to the natural beings, and I thought that might be the only way. Being a lawyer to integrate is doing a course in environmental law.
Right.
That was just simple. It may sound silly, but
Yeah.
then that was the simple rationale behind it.
Yeah.
Then maritime law, then I was in the department, and I did kind of shipping stuff, and then law of the sea. I had to do certain files. So then I got interested in the subject, and then there was this fabulous course in Malta in Europe. So I applied for a scholarship, and then it was too expensive for me to just fund. But then fortunately I got a scholarship there, so I did a master's program there. Then forensic medicine and science I did it in the Colombo University, because I started my life as a prosecutor. Because then I used to prosecute loads of murder cases, robbery, and other things. Forensic science is like it just is. To put it bluntly, because now even if somebody is dead,
Yeah.
cause of death, and how he died, and then whether it's possible the way in which the witnesses say the man died. So it's a specific science, because sometimes the witnesses can say this and that, and sometimes the witnesses lie.
Yeah.
But this is a fantastic science because, like, okay, I mean, if you cut open a dead body, you can say how the man actually died. Now, for say instance, if you find a dead body on the road, we do a post-mortem, and then we can say whether he was actually murdered or whether he just died of a heart attack. So in which case, if he had died of a heart attack, then of course the matter closed. There are no thing. If he's murdered, then the police will have to investigate.
Right. So it's
Sometimes you find a dead body in water, and everybody thinks, okay, this man, poor man, drowned.
Yeah.
But it could be that he was killed elsewhere and put in the water. You will only know once you've done a post-mortem.
Yes.
So by doing the forensic advanced diploma at the medical faculty in Colombo, that was a 1-year course, I mean, one of our chief witnesses in a criminal prosecution is the medical doctor who performed the post-mortem. So for that, it's very important that the prosecutor has a medical knowledge. So that really helped me in my work here. So that course I followed while being a state counsel.
So those two things technically interconnected.
Yes, it is. I mean, it is very relevant for criminal law. So, and also thereafter, because I did my master's in maritime law, thereafter I became a member of the NOAC, that is National Ocean Affairs Committee, so which deals with the ocean-related affairs, especially the continental shelf of Sri Lanka. And I am also I was at some point the chairman of the legal subcommittee of NOAC. So all those educational stuff helps you to get into related fields, because I mean they all look for this thing. And then also my environmental, because I had background in environmental as well as the maritime law. I got deeply involved in what is called BBNJ. BBNJ means it's about biological resources in the deep sea bed beyond national jurisdiction. So there's an international treaty which the government of Sri Lanka is about to ratify. So I was involved in that from about 2018 for about 2021. So I represented my country. So those things really helped me later on in life.
Of course.
So education is important. Your postgraduate qualifications, all of them come in handy at some point.
Yeah. So moving on, were there any challenges you faced during your university and postgraduate years, and how did they shape your career?
Well, challenges in the sense, not that I can think of anything serious. Of course, one thing, we had a uprising in 1987, and where universities were closed. But fortunately, I was in law college, which was at that time it was the only institution which was open.
Yeah.
So that never closed. So fortunately, there was no disruption in studies. So we graduated on time. So I wouldn't say. I mean, in a sense, I was lucky. We didn't have major challenges.
Yeah.
You know, I had like a decent family, and then I was lucky to that extent. So.
But like, sir, how did you balance, your education with your personal life?
My education and personal life, well, I mean, it was not so much a challenge then, because then my parents were able to fund my education and so on and so on. But then the real challenge came because when I started working, and
right.
then that is where the challenge, because this is a very high pressure job. Even as a young state counsel, we do a lot of cases, and we invariably we take work home because 8 hours is not enough to do all
Yeah.
your work home. So we work here till from say 8:30 to 5:36, and invariably we take your following day's cases because we are in court every day.
Yeah.
And so you take your following day's briefs. So we just study late into the night. So as long as you're not married, you can manage. And then,
Yeah.
well, the thing is, like, I mean, if somebody asks you for a party on a weekday, then you might not be able to go because you have to prepare for your cases the following day.
Yes.
I mean, following day you can't go to court unprepared, and well, you can't tell the court, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I had a party last night or something. That is certainly not on.
Yes.
So you have to sacrifice a lot, and then of course when you get married, children come, then your challenge comes how to balance your work and your personal life.
Yeah.
Because it's not a desk job. You have to go out there and you are up against the best lawyers in town, and so you have to be well up with your game. And then because I mean, we may be a government institution, but then we are up against the best of private bar lawyers. So you have to be really well on top of your game. At the same time, you have to balance your family life, as I told you. So there again, I can't tell you exact formula, but then people deal with it differently. I mean, sort of, there is no sort of formula, as I told you. So you have to deal with it how you have to sort of
Based on the
based on how what you have to realize what works best for you.
Yeah.
And then well, I mean, some of my officers say like on Saturdays they say it's like Netflix day, so they just watch movies on Saturdays, and then
Yes.
Sundays they start working. So that's how they do it. And then of course, unlike us, my younger colleagues, they are very good at multitasking. So they are good because we didn't have WhatsApp and these smartphones back then. Everything was paper based.
Yeah.
So now they do that. So how the young lot deals with what they call me time now. For instance, me time is something which I not heard during my time, but
Yeah.
then now they all talk about me time, and then I know what it means. So likewise, people have to make family time because that's very important. Because family, your career is important. Your family is equally important. So the question is how you do it. So you just got to give it how it. You can learn from how your friends, your colleagues manage, and there are do's and the don'ts, and then you have to think it, and then how it applies to you, and what kind of family you have. Then that everything falls into place.
Right. So it's just about being dedicated and doing what's right.
Exactly, what's being, and then of course you have to. I mean, okay, now back then the formula seems to be like work hard,
Yeah.
but now I think the motto is like work smart.
Smart.
So I mean, if you work hard, then of course your focus is on one area. But then work smart means that you got to find out how you can free up time for you and do that. So
And finish your work
finish
efficiently.
your work, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's also important, like now if you look at our diaries, every day, your number of cases are in India. So if you want to say, for instance, if you want to have a holiday, say in about a month or two, then we don't fix cases on those days, so you can have a free time to go abroad and then have have your holidays. So you can, because I mean, if you look at any profession, I'm not saying the law is the most difficult, but everybody today works hard.
Yes.
They work a lot harder than what some people did back then.
Yeah. So, sir, you joined the Attorney General's Department in 1993.
Yeah.
What were your early days like as a young lawyer in the department?
No, I joined actually. I graduated I became a lawyer. Took my oath as a lawyer in 1991, November or so.
Yeah.
Then the whole of 1992, I was working as a junior lawyer to a good lawyer called Chandra Seniratna, President's Counsel at that time, and then I was in the private bar. But then I saw some of my friends who had joined the Attorney General's Department. They were doing cases on their own, whereas I was just a junior counsel and I wasn't doing much talking in court. So basically this appealed to me. I thought I'll just join the department for a couple of years and get the experience, and
Yeah.
maybe we worked in the private bar. Well, of course there the money was very good.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll just give myself for 3 years, and then thought I'll just come here and get back. But then in 1993 I joined the department. Then I kind of liked the job because I mean it was such an adrenaline rush. As I told you before, you're doing the real case,
Yeah.
strategizing, leading witnesses, and looking up the law, making submissions, and then convincing the judge. And at the end of it, you get the judgment in your favor, or sometimes you don't get. And then it was a very, very, very challenging job. So if you're up to it, if that kind of thing excites you, well, I mean, law is the Attorney General's Department is a place for you.
Yeah.
So after 3 years, I thought, okay, fine, it's not too bad. But I was getting paid very little. But then at that time, I was not married, and then my parents were still supporting me, so it was just fine. So then I thought, okay, now I just do my masters. Then I went to Singapore, and I thought after coming back from masters, maybe I thought I'll just get quit and then go. But then again, I got some really good work, because I worked both in the civil side and the criminal side. I've been a prosecutor and a civil lawyer, all within the department structure.
Right.
And then I kind of liked the work. And then, it's a funny thing. Just like in school, you're there for like 10, 11, 12, 13 years. You kind of like the system. And then here also, I mean, I met some of the really, really nice people here. They are, there are quite a few royalist, Romanians, and then they're from other good schools, and they're very nice individuals, all told, even if they came from, schools, lesser known schools, but they were very lovely individuals. So working with them was like very good experience. So my 3 years became 5 years. Now looking back, in my 32nd years, I'm still here. So I have no regret actually.
Yeah. So you had a positive culture throughout your work life.
Yes. I think, I mean, if somebody were to ask me that I would go to would I have any regrets, or would I have done things differently? Well, no. I mean, in spite of especially my parents or my father choosing what I should do, but well, I think I mean, looking back, I have reached the top here.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't actually complain.
Yeah.
And then I have, well, in a sense, that decision was made for me. So I think I made maximum of the choice.
Right.
And also I'm quite happy that I made college proud.
Of course.
Yes.
Right. So how did your experiences as state counsel, senior state counsel, Deputy Solicitor General, and Additional Solicitor General prepare you for the responsibilities of Attorney General?
Yes.
Because-
Now, the thing is, like, all of us become attorneys general because there is no proper training or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because you don't go for lectures or a training program or orientation program, nothing. No.
Yeah.
One day you're a senior most officer here, and then Attorney General resigns or retires, and then you're next in line, and then you're appointed, the President appoints you, the Constitutional Council approves your name, and then you become. So, I mean, you still so much to learn on the job. But the fact that you've gone through the phases, then we know the department culture, what is
Yeah.
the role of the Attorney General. Because even as a state council, you represent the Attorney General, you act on behalf of the Attorney General, and then you go to court and say, well, I appear for the Attorney General. So, Attorney General is like a figurehead, because now I rarely go to court. It's my junior colleagues and my senior officers who do this thing, so they all do that, and then it kind of like helps you, cultivates you, sort of molds you to become a
Right.
head, because you know by staying here for such a long time, you know what is expected of a head of the department.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge thing. But I mean, I've been Attorney General for over a year now, but every day was a learning experience. Because for law is such that it's I mean, you can graduate from law school, but then you can never, then you realize that there's so much more to learn, because there are new judgments, new developments in the law, and so you keep learning every day. Sometimes I speak to a junior colleague, and I may have all the years as senior, but then they will know today something like this happened in court, and then this judgment was overturned and a new judgment was entered, and this is what the judge's judgment said. So we learn from all that. So it's just a very interactive process.
Yes.
So it just keeps you making better all the time.
Yes. That's a very humble perspective of it. But other than that, sir, how do you balance your responsibilities of overseeing prosecutors, advising government, and representing the state? And of course, like we discussed earlier, how do you balance all of that again with your personal life now as the Attorney General?
Yeah, well, again, we have a very strong supervision structure.
Yeah.
I got about 200 officers here, and of which about 50 are outstationed in every high court. So my officers there are in as far as Jaffna High Court, Batticaloa, Mana, so all over. So I have very complex structure of supervision, where there is various levels of officers supervising officers below them. So we have our system is like a typical pyramid sort of situation.
Right.
So I don't get to supervise my officers on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So, but if I want to know about a particular officer's performance, I'll ask the supervisor. So that's how it works. And then of course how I balance my personal life with my Attorney General. Well, the challenge it's very challenging, but
Yeah.
then of course what I said a little while ago, that applies. That's how you manage it. I mean, it's you finding time. Time is that, because sometimes 24 hours of the day is not enough.
Yes.
So, but then of course there are only 24 hours, so you have to fit in everything to that 24 hours.
Yes. So, sir, you have also represented Sri Lanka in UN treaty discussions. So what was it like to work at the international level? Was it any different, or how did you feel?
It is indeed different. It's very, very different. One thing is that our legal systems clash
Yeah.
because you hardly come across when you're opposed to a foreign delegation, and you find that the legal systems are quite different. So it's very challenging because now we think that our legal system is supreme, and those countries, for them, their legal system is supreme. So when you are entering into a bilateral negotiation, that bilateral means between two countries, then of course we have what we call it negotiating text, and then we agree on where we can agree and where we can sort of be flexible, and then so you have to have a negotiating techniques at a very high level, because it's not like having a discussion with your another government institution, and because then it's because we know our laws are there. There's nothing to negotiate. It's just application of the law. But here, by having treaties negotiated, we are trying to create not a law, but create a set of rules by which both Sri Lanka and that foreign country can work with, and then we have to honor them. I mean, I have negotiating with countries like Russia, Belarus, China. I mean, this is quite awe-inspiring because those are such huge countries, and then Sri Lanka is like a drop in the ocean, but still we sit across tables as sovereign individuals, and then you negotiate your treaty. And the multilateral treaties are a little more complex because multilateral means there are about 4 or 5 countries. So then we have to. It's more difficult than bilateral because they have their different concerns. They have their different priorities. So we have to marry all of it and then agree on a set of rules which is acceptable to everyone. So you have to come down from your expectations to a limit, but of course you can't come down so low in as much as to violate the Sri Lankan law. So we have to stop at that time. So it's very challenging because then of course the UN treaty negotiations are far more complex and it takes years to do that because you go to the United Nations, one day probably you go, and then you find those huge halls where the entire world is represented, 190 countries are there, so you have to put forward your country's concern and then get the best deal for your country. But that's very interesting area of law. I mean, you get to see the country. I might have traveled to about maybe 25-30 countries, but then it's a different experience every time.
So earlier, I remember you mentioned how times have changed a lot, especially with technology improving really fast. So how has the legal profession in Sri Lanka evolved since the 1990s?
Well, there are 2 ways in which I could answer the question because, now you find, legal systems per se, laws, sometimes our laws are as archaic as, sometimes the penal code, which is our principal instrument, it's quite old. And we got amendments to the law coming, but the principal amendment is still there. Some of the laws are maybe 100 years, but still it works even today. But then of course we have brand new acts like Money Laundering Acts, so Terrorism Financing Act, the Electronic Evidence Act, those are very new acts because depending on the needs of the society, we create laws. So whereas some laws are very old, but still it's workable today. But then there are certain new laws because electronic transaction, because earlier it was everything was paper based. You had documents which had to be signed physically by people. Today we have lots of documents which are not signed by anybody, like certain bank statements. So how to use them in court? So we have to have laws regulating that. So that is that evolution of the law is there. But then, okay, second aspect is that how much of automation we have used in our court system. I must say we are a bit lagging behind. Now, we really don't use AI, artificial intelligence to that extent. We still don't have electronic filing. That means in some countries we still have like documents which we type, get printouts, make photocopies, and go and physically file it in court. But you get in some countries electronic filing where you get only the soft copy gets filed in court, and then of course the judges look at them on their devices, laptops, so to say. So we are not quite up there, but then of course there are a lot of discussions. So we need to get there.
Right.
So we are developing, and then now we have the system where witnesses can testify remotely, which is very novel. That means somebody from overseas can testify in a court here, and now we are thinking of not removing prisoners from prisons to the courthouse, but so that they could participate in court hearing without actually being removed from prison.
So virtual.
It's virtual, exactly.
Yeah, I see. On that note, sir, do you think Sri Lanka as a country should focus more on cultural preservation, or should we prioritize modernization? What is your opinion, sir?
No, the thing is the cultural preservation is important. That is sort of things that gives your identity. But at the same time, but you can't be sort of sold on the idea of that you have to preserve your culture no matter what. But then modernization, because if you don't modernize and then move in with the times, then you're going to get left behind, and that's not a good thing also, because we live in an era of globalization. So we have to think beyond. Now take for instance now, I'm a Sinhalese, and then my mother tongue is Sinhalese. That's very important. But at the same time, if you're going to move with the times, if you're going to use your computers, if you're going to read foreign jurisdiction, the law reports, use the internet. Of course, you have to move away from Sinhalese and brush up your English, and then it's important that you train yourself.
Right.
So modernization. You can have your cultural background, and then not get too caught up in modernization, because you could preserve your cultural values. Your school teaches that.
Yes.
Right? So your school teaches about traditions, going for the royal tournament.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys must be all excited about Bradley. Okay, I'm also very excited because I'm proud of the candy. So then all that is there. So the traditions, the culture, they're important.
Yes.
At the same time, you move with the times. So that is something which I picked up on the way. So that transition is quite easy. So those two can go hand in hand.
Right. You should strike a balance between.
Yes, I think life is all about balance. It's important. Otherwise, you can't find, as I told you earlier, finding time to work and then free time. It's about balance.
Yes. So we've talked a lot about balance. We've talked about various aspects in your career, sir. But in your opinion, what aspect of the legal profession do you enjoy the most, sir? In each things.
Well, I must say, I don't know that really it became, for me the most important thing was, going to court.
Yes.
going to court was like very challenging, and I know it was like very frightening because it was very frightening as a very young lawyer. You go because you're up against terrifying senior lawyers
Yes.
who are ready to sort of browbeat you, push you over, bully you, so to say. Then you're up against some very difficult judges, very senior judges. You know, some of them are very strict, some of them are. I mean, you don't get chilled out judges, so to say. They are very strict. Most of them are strict. They are very they are disciplinarians and they apply the law. They know their stuff. So you have to be very well prepared. So I mean, for me, I found it. For lots of them also, going to court is quite a challenging stuff. Some of them didn't like going to court, but then they branch out and then they do 9-to-5 job, equally successful, and they find employment in companies, the legal firms. Then, but I found it, you know, massive adrenaline rush when you're up against. Because as you improve from initial days, you're getting better at your game. You know, starting from reading the brief, then how you strategize what witnesses to call, and then reading the evidence, and then you're making your opposing submissions, then doing your written submissions. All that is like a long process, and on the other hand, a difficult judge, a clever defense lawyer.
Right.
Well, at the end of it, you get the judgment in your favor, so it's very satisfying.
So the challenge was the thing you enjoyed.
Challenge, yes, that is. I mean, that just kept us going.
Right. So looking ahead, sir, what do you hope your legacy as an Attorney General will be?
Well, I mean, I when I became the Attorney General, I mean, I took over a very good department, and then I mean, I have had like long-term and short-term plans, you know. But at the end of the day, I mean, I have a very good set of professionals, very good young talent, and then unlike other government departments, you know, they won't get transferred to this ministry and that ministry. The state, if you join as a state council, you will remain in the department. If you choose to remain in the department, in this department. So, what I want to do is just train these officers. You know, they are very well trained. You know, take their training to a higher level, and I mean, at the time point I leave, if I can leave this department as a better place with a thorough set of professionals, that would make me really happy.
Right. Before we end things off, sir, is there any advice you'd like to give students or aspiring lawyers? What would it be?
Well, the recipe for success is quite obvious in the sense like you got to work hard.
Of course.
I mean, that's I mean, you got to be, you pass out from law college. That's not going to be the end of things. As I told you, it's a continuous process of learning. Work hard, and then like you have to be up with the changing laws, judgments. You know, you just keep, and then you've got to be patient.
Right.
Because sometimes they say it's a stairs race, because I mean, you got to stay in the profession, then you will reach to the top of the game. If you're in the ages department, well, of course you get a promotion. If you're in the private bar, well, of course you've got to be a senior lawyer and a president's counsel, and then it's all about reputation. The people are not going to ask about your educational qualifications. When you want to retain, you want to look for a person who is good in the top of the game, and then of course, as lawyers, you never retire. Of course, government servant, as the ages department, you have to retire at a particular age. We are government servants, but still for all after retirement we can go to the private bar and practice. Private bar, you just go on. So as long as you, but health is very important because the thing is, I mean, when you work hard, you tend to neglect your health. I mean, that's one thing very important. You've got to maintain your health, and then that's once again you got to have work-life balance. So once you figure that out, you're good to go.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that valuable advice, sir, and thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule and joining us today. It was an honor to have you here today.
Yeah, I mean, pleasure is all mine. I'm really thrilled that that you chose to interview me, and especially coming from college. Thank you so much, all of you.
Of course. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back with another episode of Testimonial. This is Ditra De Silva signing off.